Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. It's been a crazy week. I have not had time to do videos or blog posts or anything. I had a bunch of doctor's appointments and, tests scheduled. Just, the usual stuff for somebody my age. And then my mother was rushed to the emergency room, so I've been at the hospital, every day. Yesterday, my mom was discharged. She's back at the nursing home, so things are calming down. So this video is an update on the recovery of my fractured Tibia Plateau. So I went to see a new orthopedic surgeon, and I loved my last one. The only problem was he was on the far west side of Cleveland. Not far west side, on the west side of Cleveland. I'm on the far east side, I'm not even in the same county. So my primary care doctor referred me to this doctor, this new one, because he specializes in both knees and hips. And I was born with a dislocated hip. They did fix it when I was a baby. However, when I was 12, I started to suffer from bursitis. So, it's something I do have to have checked out every once in a while. So, anyways, he had asked me, when was the last time my last doctor x-rayed my knee? And I told him April 28th, and he said, so what did he say? Because I didn't have him transferred. He does have the records from my surgery and everything that happened in New Mexico. I told him, he said everything looks great, the hardware looks great, healing great, and everything. He goes, okay, that's good. He said, because from what I'm seeing, I had my cane with me. He goes, you are walking fine. I told him I still have swelling and pain. I'm in pain every day. It's not as intense as it used to be, obviously. And he said that's normal. He said this takes a very long time to recover from. He said the swelling and pain, it's going to take a while. He said, but because of that, he wants to re-x-ray my knee when I hit the year mark of when I had my surgery. Now, my surgery was February 1st. So, on February 2nd, 2024, I have an appointment with my orthopedic surgeon again, and he's going to do x-rays of the knee. This time he concentrated more on my hip. He wanted to get x-rays of that because it has been it's been years since I've had my hip x-rayed. So he took a look at that. Every time I've ever had my hip x-rayed, they were always like, boy, the doctor you had when you were a baby must have been really good because we can't even tell you had a dislocated hip. With this doctor, he says to me, okay, when I look at your x-rays, he said, I can tell you had a dislocated hip. It's obvious. Now, what I never knew is, even though they fixed it when I was a baby, had they not fixed it, I would have had a very obvious limp. My right leg was significantly longer than my left. What I didn't realize all my life was I knew I walked with a slight limp. Only a medical professional would notice if they were looking. But what I discovered is my right leg is still the right leg was shorter. So, yeah, my left leg is longer. My right leg is still a half inch shorter. So I do wear a heel lift on that side. But he said it is obvious that I had a dislocated hip. And he asked me where I usually experience the pain, and I showed him. I said every once in a great while, I might get a little bit of pain on the inside of my hip, but, it's no big deal. And he said, right. He says, I see little to no arthritis. Now, the last doctor, in my early 50s, I was diagnosed with mild osteoarthritis in that hip. He goes, yeah, I barely call it that. So, and I said, boy, that's a miracle because, it's been 59 years. And I still don't have arthritis, so that's great. He says, now the bursitis, he goes, that's another story. He says, that is very evident. I said, I'm not surprised. I said, I've been dealing with that since I was 12 years old. And he told me how to deal with it. He did suggest steroid injections. I refused that. I told him, I said, prednisone makes me manic. I said, so I like to stay away from all steroids. If there's another option, I'd rather do that. So the other option is what I somehow figured out when I was a child. Stretch it, use it, and I put heat on it. Stuff like that. any kind of anti-inflammatory works too, over the counter. So, same old, same old. So that's all the same. But my knee, although it doesn't really feel like it, is doing great. And I told the doctor, I said, when I go out, I use a cane. I said, at home, in the house, I don't use a cane. I only use it for going up and down the steps and going outside. But in the house, I don't use it. I just walk around without it. And he says, you're really doing good. So, really not going to be any more updates on that. I have a limp. I do. Use a cane. I hobble around. But that's what he told me. He goes, you're walking. He says, you've got your independence back. You're here by yourself. You drive. You do this. You do this. He says, you're fine. He says, we're doing great here. So I really like my new doctor. It's good to have a specialist in the knee and the hip because, all right, my hip's always been a problem for me all my life. The knee is a new one, but that's, going to be something that needs to be checked every once in a while. He says that, and that's what the goal is. He said, we used to feel that everyone who had this injury and surgery would eventually need a knee replacement. He says, we're finding that's not always necessarily true. He says, so the goal now is to just check it once in a while and see if any arthritis is developing. Now, I did learn this week that I do have osteoporosis. I'm going to my primary doctor later this morning and see what's to be done about that. So I don't know. That had more to do with breaking. I don't know if that affects arthritis at all. I do have arthritis coming like in my lower back and stuff like that. I have a lot of degenerative wearing down there. But when I was in my early 50s, I took one hell of a fall down the steps. And it messed up my neck here and my lumbar region. And so that's what that's from. So, so it's nothing that's abnormal for someone my age. But the hip, the knee, I'm saying I'm there. I limp, I use a cane, but I go and do anything I want, anytime I want. I still have not, I do bend my knees, but not to get all the way down on the ground to like do gardening and stuff like that. I'm still bending at the waist. Thank God I've always been flexible enough that it doesn't affect me. I was told next year I could go back to my regular gardening. So I think during the winter I'm going to work on stretching and working on that bend so that when it's time, look at the girls are out, when it's time to prepare the soil to plant, I'm ready. So, good news. I'm doing great. This old woman's getting back to herself. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Blessed be, and make it a joyful one.